never really talks much. Let's go!
Of all the anniversaries that racers love to celebrate in drag racing, 2024 marks one they'd probably rather ignore. It'll be the 61st year of the red light. There were foul starts before the introduction of the Christmas tree in 1963, but the iconic look of that angry red bulb on the bottom of the tree illuminating to indicate a racer leaving before the green light is on says it'll be one of the sport's enduring images. Of course, there's no good time for a red light, but some are way more emotionally punishing than others. Let's take a look back at 5 of the most significant red lights in NHRA history. Number 5. Pat Foster and Jim Dunn, 1972 Super Nationals. The funny car final round at the 1972 NHRA Super Nationals was a drag racing fan's dream. On one side sat Pat Foster, the Barry Setzer Vega, one of the nation's most fearsome funny cars. On the other side sat Big Jim Dunn, his unique and quick rear-engine CUDA funny car. As the cars burned out and came to the line, it would be hard to know just how tense the grandstands were, but we have to believe they were buzzing. Foster was too. He left early, triggered the red light, and Jim Dunn instantly entered the history books as the only person in the annals of the NHRA to win a race in rear-engine funny car. Number 4. John Garland and Bobby Bottas, 1963 U.S. Nationals. The U.S. Nationals produced moments of breathtaking and shocking surprise every year, and they always have. In 1963, the Christmas tree was introduced to the event, and it would go on to decide the biggest and most important pair of the entire meet, the top eliminator final. 19-year-old unknown Bobby Bottas was matched with young country Don Garland. This was the final round, and between the drivers who outnumbered Don Garland. Young driver Vodnik was defiant after being left there on the starting line strategy. Garland jumped the lights, and perhaps the single greatest upset in NHRA history was up. Number 3. Bob Wood and Ronnie Humphrey, 1979 Mile High Nationals. Consider this. Bob Wood appeared in every single national event Pro Stock final round from Montreal 1977 to Columbus, Ohio 1979. In fact, when the NHRA got to the 1979 Mile High Nationals, William had won 9 races and nearly 50 rounds of competition straight. The only guy that could beat him? This one was Bob Wood. Against Randy Humphrey during the second round of racing, Wood went red, ending the streak. Oh, and don't rub your eyes. Bob did run a Plymouth Arrow in 1979 to get another championship. As for Humphrey, he never won another Pro Stock. Number 2. Jason Line and Eric Hendricks, 2014 NHRA Finals. Winner-take-all championship runs are among the most electrifying things in drag racing. And this one between Jason Line and Eric Hendricks was next level. Seeking her for his championship, it all came down to the last round of the last race of the year. As the 3 flags, both drivers were over anxious. Jason Line recording a negative 11 reaction time to Erica's negative 002, earning the red ball on Jason Line's side. Jason Line continues his mechanical involvement in Pro Stock today. As far as Erica goes, Number 1. Joe Amato and Gary Ormsby, 1990 NHRA Finals. The 1989 and 1990 NHRA Top Fuel seasons were highlighted by the coast-to-coast war waged between Joe Amato, Tim Richards, and their team against Gary Ormsby, Lee Beard, and theirs. The 1989 title went to Ormsby in a squeaker, but the 1990 chase went down to the bitter end. A final round showdown in Pomona, California. The faces of the crew, the standing crowd, and the settling dust set the scene for one of the most pressure-packed moments in Top Fuel history. Ormsby went first. Amato won the title. Ormsby settled the issue. A season-long battle. 19 races, 46 rounds of racing. Hard to believe that both races this well. Here's a look back at 5 of the most jaw-dropping, high-stakes, emotion-driven red lights in NHRA history. The drama will be fever and pitched in all classes and categories this year when the Mission Cruise Drag Racing Series kicks off in Gainesville, Florida for the annually oiled NHRA Gator Nationals. Make sure you get there by getting your tickets today at NHRA.com. And storied history of NHRA drag racing is often and rightfully celebrated, now well into its 8th decade. The names and performances etched into the annals of the past are something we can all look back at and occasionally call upon for inspiration. Conversely, the ever-brighter future of a sport fueled by youthful drivers and personalities is a dazzling thing to ponder. But none of that means anything today.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
NHRA racings are all about the here and now. Here and now, exciting journeys begin for young and old alike in racing. Racers will furnace. The 2023 NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series begins today, and you're about to see it all here and now on Fox. Over the course of what has been an incredible weather weekend in the state of Florida, tens of thousands of NHRA drag racing fans have streamed to Gainesville Raceway for the opening day of the drag racing season for the NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series. And while many fans come into their home stadium, whether it's football or baseball, they smell cut grass and steamed hot dogs. But when you come to an NHRA drag race, it is the pungent smell of racing gasoline and the noxious musk of nitromethane fuel that'll make your eyes water and your smile grow wider. Welcome to our Fox coverage of the NHRA and the World International here at Gainesville Raceway in Gainesville, Florida. Welcome everybody inside the broadcast booth high above Gainesville Raceway. I'm Brian Lones, joined for the 5th season in a row by Tony Pedregon, two-time NHRA Nitro Funny Car World Champion. And Tony, we begin this year with so much excitement, so much anticipation. We also begin it with a bunch of teams that have tested very well and seem very prepared today, and another bunch of teams that have had no luck in testing and don't seem prepared at all. So what is the difference on race day Sunday?
It doesn't guarantee much in the regular season, but for our teams, it does give us some indication of what we can expect. However, on this day, in these conditions, they say the big-time players come out for the big-time moments. So I think we can anticipate some of the teams that didn't show us much, some of the drivers that didn't show us much should rise to the occasion because this is the start of the season.
It is, and because of that, we have so many off-season storylines to tell you about here. Tony Stewart will be racing a full season in the Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series in Top Alcohol Dragster. Alex Laughlin is going Jim Bell Racing as a funny car driver. The first category of racer. Tim Wilkerson has formed Wilkerson Maynard Racing with a Skag sponsorship this year, and Matt Smith is in talks to become a Team Suzuki rider for the 2023 season. That, among many other exciting things are happening, but first we have to talk about Top Fuel.
Top Fuel is purpose-built for acceleration and speed, 25 feet in length, front and rear wing, floor downforce, along with the design of the exhaust header that will provide an additional several thousand pounds of downforce. All aluminum V8, highly explosive nitromethane for fuel, supercharged, and 2 spark plugs per cylinder is how we arrive at over 11,000 horsepower.
And if we're talking Top Fuel, there were probably a few teams and drivers that had a pretty force voodoo doll in the offseason. And Tony, they might have jabbed a bunch of pins into it, but it doesn't seem to have had any effect because the reigning champion came out here slinging and qualifying.
They will soon learn do not play with aluminum force is the real deal. Winning your second championship, and this team has gone with the same setup, the same combination that acquired them that championship. They may change it after this race, but for now, this is the same team that we saw pull the win off.
It was relief and excitement for Brady Force and Pomona, and it was solemn resolve when the team pulled through the gates here in Gainesville. They lined up in qualifying session 1. The Monster Energy flavor pack Top Fuelers got the better of the elapsed time twice against the Anton Brown, running 369.9 and 336 miles an hour. That was enough to hang in for the number 1 spot, and after she locked down a gold cap, Amanda Beatrice spoke with her.
Well, it is officially race day here in Gainesville, and your reigning champ is the number 1 qualifier, Brittany, and this is a chance for you to kick off your title defense. How might you be poised to go back-to-back championships this season?
Definitely because of that number 1 right there. Our team put it on this weekend, and it's a special design. Our performance was outstanding, and we're proud of that. So we put it on together, but now we want to repeat. We want another solid season. We want to improve on last season. We want more wins, and ultimately we want a championship at the end of this thing.
Brittany's career accomplishments continue to mount. A two-time NHRA Top Fuel World Champion, 43 number one qualifiers, third most among active Top Fuel racers, and 16 wins, a career best 5 of them coming over the course of the 2022 season. We go back to some of the magical moments that involve racers here at Top Fuel. Josh Hart entered Top Fuel for the first time ever in the 2021 Internationals, and then this happened in the final round.
Yeah, Josh Hart wasn't a familiar name with a lot of his competitors. However, he did come with some experience in a similar car that Tony Stewart is now driving, an injected car. So he was very familiar with the routine, with being in competition against tough opponents, and well, you can see how well he has performed here.
This was yesterday an $80,000 victory in the Pit Boys Top Fuel All-Star Call-Out to get his season started against 8 of the best contenders in the nation in the category. The sold-out crowd greeted their Ocala, Florida native like a conquering hero. You can see 41 miles from Gainesville Raceway is Josh Hart's hometown of Ocala. The 2021 National Event win, the 2022 Call-Out win. All of that has culminated in a conversation with Ryan Massel.
Well, the first time has been the charm for Josh Hart here at Gainesville Raceway. His hometown track was 2 years ago. First race ever in the Top Fuel car. He gets the dub, and that trophy speaks about his first performance yesterday in his first call-out show. Josh, why have you been so successful here in Gainesville?
I would say it's because it's our hometown track. Obviously, the fan support here is off the charts. Sellout crowd here at Gainesville, so just super proud of this team. And you know, you don't get any time to think about it when you go right into a race like the call-out. That was our 3rd competition pass, so to win it in our 4th one, that was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
That 2023 call-out victory was massive. We look at our Top Fuel Lucas Oil ladder for round 1, and we see who Josh Hart will be facing, just some guy named Tony Schumacher. A lot of great matchups here in this first round in conditions that are idealistic for making horsepower and for making big speed. The Air Force has become more and more involved with the NHRA, and that means flyovers. This a C-17 Glowmaster. This baby can weigh up to 585,000 pounds fully loaded. It can fly 520 miles an hour. Its wingspan is 170 feet wide. And oh, how about 40,000 pounds of thrust for each of the 4 engines. And here comes round 1 of Top Fuel Eliminator. It is Josh Hart on the racetrack next to Tony Schumacher. The skid power-driven machine backing up next to the R&L Carriers, Top Fuel dragsters. These 2 racers, Josh Hart has won here back in 2021. It was about a half a decade ago when Tony Schumacher turned the same trick. They come into this season with different expectations. For Josh Hart, the season began incredibly well, Tony. Yesterday, he picked up the win at the Pep Boys All-Star Top Fuel Call-Out, earning $80,000 and down 3 competitors along the way. Getting in the highest qualifying position to start this race. However, the win or the call-out, very consistent. They've been a little systematic in getting quicker for Tony Schumacher. They saved his quickest running qualifying for the lap. This is a pretty good matchup right here. So for Schumacher, it is a new crew chief and Mike Knapp, an assistant crew chief, and John Schaefer. They have tried to revitalize the Skag Power Equipment team. They got a win last year, but did not run up to their own expectations. Rob Douglas tunes for Josh Hart from Ocala, Florida, and the 2023 Camping World Drag Racing season begins right now. Thundering down the drag strip, it is going to be Tony Schumacher. 372, 2 on a whole shot of all things Tony. 048 reaction time for Schumacher. Hart, 105 reaction time, very uncharacteristic. Gets beat with a quicker last time. Just like I said, the big-time players show up for these moments. And it was Josh Hart that really had the slight advantage mentally. He had a couple rounds of competition. He had that final round. He was getting off the starting line, but this is something that championship drivers like Tony Schumacher know they have to do. They know the consistency of Josh Hart. And the other thing that corresponded with Tony Schumacher's performance was this car really stepped up in a big way, 500s quicker than what they did in qualifying. Josh Hart just made the quickest run of the entire drag race and lost. That is the nature of this sport. It can turn on a dime. For Tony Schumacher, it is the start to a season that he definitely wanted and needed. This guy's not known as a whole shot artist. He's known as a very consistent driver, but to get one like this, boy, oh boy, that's a good way to kick off Sunday. We have Austin Prock on the racetrack next to Clay Milliken. This week's Cornwell Quality Tools Crew Chief Confidential deals with the man who is now steering the ship for the Montana Brands Rocky Mountain Twist Top Fueler, Chris Cunningham.
After 7.5 years working on a funny car alongside Jimmy Prock, Chris Cunningham is now going to be the co-crew chief alongside Joe Barlow on Austin Prock's dragster. And you told me off camera that it's just a different mindset change. What is that?
Come take my hand.
Turn the same way when you want to
Let me show you another way to a better land.
window and get a little bit of comfort level, and then off we go.
An article on NHRA.com, John Vernon, you said that you will be torn inside the
You don't have a goal. We just want to go out there and be
Do not be deceived by the man's quiet-spoken nature. He can tune a hot rod as we look down here and see Austin Prock in the cockpit of his race car. Across the racetrack, the Parts Plus top fueler of Clay Milliken and Bruno Masso. Welcome to 2023, Val.
Well, Brian, it is good to be down here this morning and to play Milliken as a team. His team feel really strong with the cars running in the left lane. It's funny because you talked to the track specialist this morning about the right lane was a little better, the grip was a little tighter. Something about that right lane, this team has struggled with the test and getting running out of it, even though they lane choice.
Clay Milliken didn't escape the first round of the top fuel call-out.
If you wanna escape with me, come take my hand. Let me show you
Side-by-side running will be Austin Prock on a wall shot. 3.706 beats 3.705. The early start seems to be proving who ate their Wheaties this morning and who forgot to hit the snooze button.
I think it's safe to say at this point that talking about lane choice could just be something mental. Every tuner has their preference. They may or may not see anything at 200 feet and 300 feet. They may or may not see some rubber peeling up. But we have already proven in the first two rounds these lanes are nearly identical. And again, Clay Milliken clearly a better car qualifying, but this is race day. This is where the mid-time drivers step up.
A signature part of Austin Prock's personality in a race car is that starting line attack mode he goes into. In his old 40 reaction time is proof positive that he has more well-shot view at the finish line. When we come back, Top Fuel Eliminator Round 1 continues. And the Cornwell Quality Tools Big Cam shows us the defending world champion who will be on the racetrack right after this. You're watching the NHRA on Fox.
The Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals on Fox is sponsored by Amalie. Better than it has to be since 1903.
And now we take a look at our Lucas Oil Top Fuel competition ladder here for round 1. We see Austin Prock advancing out of the number 12 spot and Tony Schumacher coming out of the number 10 spot. Like age, Tony, qualifying is just a number apparently.
Sometimes it could be a little misleading, and that seems to be the story of the day, at least at this point.
The next pair of cars is fired. Keith Murray will be racing against Brittany Force as we look at Gainesville Raceway history. Opened in 1969. First Gator National held in 1970. We can see Tony Schumacher won here 5 times in Top Fuel, 8 times for John Force, 9 times for Warren Johnson. Terry Vance and Eddie Krawick had 6 victories for Pro Stock Motorcycle. So Brittany Force on the drag strip right now. David Grubnick still leading this team. Max Savage has moved over to John Force's car. But it is still Grubnick making those big decisions. Brittany Force lost in the first round of the 2022 running of the Gator Nationals. Keith Murray did not compete here last year. He is driving the Payton family dragster, sponsored by his company, Merco.
Yeah, for Keith Murray, I mean, they're not going to try to run quicker than they feel that they can run. They're going to hope that Brittany Force can make a mistake, but under these conditions, not very likely.
Murray's car wandering around up by the center line. Meanwhile, 369.2, 333.99 miles an hour for Brittany Force. Low ET of the beat so far.
Yeah, Brittany Force, she was very good off the line. Really didn't need to be. A lot of drivers, they size up their opponent and they could have a tendency to lay up. But this is a team, this is a car that has the same combination, the same
facility heading into this event, which is a lot, let's put it that way. It's a lot of parts, a lot of wear and tear, but he said the reason why is last year we almost had a false sense of security because every once in a while the power throw was the phone, and then it kind of threw us for a loop because it wouldn't repeat. Fortunately with his team, they seem to have gotten past that point, and thus far, the car's repeating and doing what it's supposed. 372 was a stout run for them. Qualifying put him way up the top of the line. The concern right now is conditions are so good they don't want to shake the tires. He said that's all I'm going up here to do is try not to shake.
Doug Foley will be Leah's competition, the Pro-Tex Top Fuel Dragster. Doug Foley was nearly the Cinderella story of the race last year, Tony making his first and only career final round, but falling short of trip tape.
Well, and as good as Leah is, as good as she was at the end of the year, as good as she has been in qualifying, those stats do tell us that Doug Foley is not going to be an easy opponent.
Look, you guys, you gave me the chance to do this, and that was the first round. Made some big changes last year, hiring Mike Neff and John Schaefer and Phil Schuler did a great job. So back on answer, we love you guys. We're doing them in. All the sponsors are anxious to get this out there, but for the fans, that's how you start the season.
Tony actually started with a round win earlier the other day, but it happened on the return road as he and his teammate Tim Wilkerson had a showdown on the Skag zero-turn mowers, which, let's be honest, these are way faster than we thought they were.
Tony has left the starting line 2 times as if someone wants to talk to him about his extended car insurance.
So Schumacher on to round 2 and undefeated so far this season on return road lawnmower drag races from Skag Power Equipment. Doug Coletta and Spencer Massey. Doug Coletta, one of the big stories of 2022, but not in the way we would have wanted to tell it. It was a disappointing season for he and his team. They've come back, Tony. This is a brand new car, not just the canopy, the entire chassis built to the specifications of a crew chief Alan Johnson.
Yeah, although Doug doesn't have a lot of runs in this enclosed canopy, this is just a preference. It's no really aerodynamic benefits. It's just a better protected ride. This is something that Doug Coletta is very comfortable in. If you look at that, that's the ballistic shield. It doesn't move, it doesn't flop around. It's just so much thicker and stronger. It does make it a little bit wider, but he's comfortable. And of course, the performance of the car continues to improve.
Very experienced driver in Spencer Massey and a good automobile. That is the commercial metal fabricator dragster, owned by 1977 Top Fuel Championship runner-up Pat Dakin. And they're hanging in there, top ended. Wow, 364.6, 333.82 miles an hour. As Massey runs a very respectable 380, shut off early at 270. If you're going to hand Doug Coletta a car that can run 364, everybody better be afraid.
Well, take a look. One of these cars is going to drift awful close to the inside of the lane. That's Doug Coletta. But I've been wanting to say this on the show. The Falcon has landed. With that kind of performance, this means that Doug Coletta is going to be not just a factor, but a big factor. This kind of performance will win you some races, not just a round. We could see a game try, game effort from Spencer Massey, always quick off the starting line.
In a career that has now gone 3 decades, Doug Coletta just made his career best run. That's saying something. It is a brutally fast Sunday here in the Sunshine State. Do not go anywhere. We're just getting into the thick of Top Fuel Eliminator, and we have so much more to show you. Doug Coletta is going to round 2 with authority. The Sealmaster track walk at the Gator Nationals is always special, but it was even more special this year. The University of Florida band was involved. These guys were awesome this morning, put on a great show as part of the Darryl Gwynn and Track Walk for those that can. It is a charity event. It raises funds for the Darryl Gwynn Foundation, and it is really a fantastic way to get people's morning started. Never much more so than with the inclusion of the marching band. As we get a look at our Lucas Oil Top Fuel ladder, we can see who has advanced out of round number 1, which includes the likes of Austin Prost, Liam Pruitt, they'll race in round 2. Steve Torrance and Tony Schumacher round 3. Who will race Doug Gillette? Who will race Brittany Ford? Those are questions that are yet to be answered, and they will be answered right quick. As we have Antron Brown and Sean Langdon. Neither driver qualified for the Gator Nationals last year. Same situation as Liam Pruitt. One session, they smoked the tires, and that was the end of their weekend. But for Antron Brown, who wears the number 2 on the wing of his Matco Tool Sirius XM Hangster for Toyota Top Fuel Dragster, he wants to get this season started off properly. And Sean Langdon saw what his teammate Doug Gillette did, and his CMR roofing and construction machine wants to at least get close to replicate the same thing. Brian, you talk about the concern for Antron Brown, it should be the fact that this is a team car. He looks over in the other lane. It's Sean Langdon. It may be the right time to race that car. However, when you see his teammate, that team car, go down the track and run quick time of the event, you know that they're going to feed back some information to that Langdon car. What translates for Antron Brown? We watched him come through the countdown races like a house of fire. I mean, he started out at Nowheresville and ends up second. Does that actually carry it today? It does. Even though they tested, they R&D, they're trying new parts, new pieces. They continually try to evolve their car. Even though there are a set of rules that don't allow them to do too much, the car's already pushing close to 340 miles per hour, but he had the consistency. What they worked on for so long, and they did achieve, was to run in the top 5. Yes, he was Brittany Ford with the Steve Torrances, and now, of course, with the Doug Gillette, he's looking at his teammate over in Sean Langdon. Winner of this pair will take on Mr. 364 himself, Doug Gillette, in round number 2. And that is a fine side-by-side race. It will be Antron Brown on a hole shot. We haven't given up on that so far this morning. 3.706 beats a 3.704. Tony, it is 2/10,000ths of a second at 326 laps an hour. This isn't exactly a woodshed like we've seen some of the drivers at the end of the track. It is an absolute meat grinder on the starting line. Sean Langdon, one of the best. You're not going to be able to get too much. Both of them were very good. But this just goes to show you, this is race day. The inter-eliminations and qualifying, these cars are racing against the clock. They want to try to record the quickest time that will put them in that respective position. On race day, you simply need to get to the finish line first, and that is something Antron was able to do. An incredibly tight run there. So Coletta and Brown in round number 2. Antron had a great announcement for us, an expansion of the Summit Racing Equipment Junior Dragster League, and Toyota's been heavily involved. You won't believe this.
Well, what you're looking at is the Toyota GR Super Junior Roadster, and one of the guys that's behind the initiative of this program is none other than Antron Brown. And Antron, first of all, this is a showstopper. I walked up and was just like, how cool is this? What was the thought behind this, and how did this come about?
Came about one day, me and Paul Dolsha from Toyota North America was just sitting around and we were talking. He really wanted to inspire and bring some new dynamic to the junior dragster ranks where you can get kids that can actually get a car that's only a 24-foot trailer to bring a actually a dragster where you can actually have a junior roadster. And they just wanted to put the Toyota Super brand behind it. And you can tell it came out top notch with Heston dragsters out there helping out. And the Regal doing the fiberglass work. Just wants to be heard, whether it's all involved with Summit Racing. Feels so unlike everybody else alone. In spite of the fact that some people still think that they don't, but no, he knows the code. It's not about the salary, it's all about reality. It's making some noise, making a story, making sure his click stays up. That means when he puts it down, toxic, making it out. Let's go. 7.9 seconds. He never really talks much, never concerned with status, but still even him starstruck. Through opportunities given despite the mean, that's the second race car.
makes a living from writing raps. Put it together himself. Got a picture connects. Never less than for someone's
Justin Ashley and Mike Salinas to round out his first round, which has been one success skill fuel eliminator. For Justin Ashley, he made the semifinals of this race last year. So did Mike Ashley. The Connect Top Fuel and taking on the Scrappers Racing Machine. Northern California, Mike Salinas.
Took him to church. I like bleach, man. Had the stupidest verse. Was true as the truth. Everybody's giving them guest spots. Stocks fit
366 times to 334. Mike Salinas was left on the altar by 5/100ths of a second. But Ashley's car began to spin the tires down the course. Salinas motored by. Off the starting line. That's a substantial hop. Got him out the dryer. He's hot. I'm in the he's at the finish line, but it was the lack of power. You can see the supercharger.
8 years in the making, patiently waiting to blow. Now the record wishing no was taking over the globe. He's got a partner
just
in
to spin
crime.
to allow the 60 pounds of boost to go into the engine. But you can see Justin Ashley struggling with this car. It was moving around. More than likely, it was spinning the tires, breaking the tires loose, but quicker. And you can see backfiring at the finish line was Mike Salinas.
So Mike Salinas ran around him. The differential of speed, only 4 miles an hour. The differential of time at the finish line stripe, 3/100ths of a second. The Scrappers Racing Valley Services dragster advances to round 2, where it will show down against Brittany Force. What a way to begin the 2023 season in Top Fuel Eliminator. Let's take a look at our Lucas Oil competition ladder after a manic round 1 of competition. Force and Salinas rocking through it. Torrance and Schumacher, Antron Brown and Doug Coletta. The test gets even harder in the second round for our Top Fuel competitors. That was the first class of the day. We have Nitro Funny Cars coming, including the defending world champion in his Napa GR Supra, Ron Capps. He'll be out here with the rest of the colorful cast of characters and NHRA Nitro Funny Car. The Gator Nationals are off and running. Thanks for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. For the Nitro Funny Car category, continuing to build on a Hall of Fame legacy in his career of NHRA drag racing. It was a moment of relief, and it was a moment of overwhelming victory for his team. Tony, let's talk funny car.
Well, what started out in the 1960s as a steel body production car off of the showroom floor has evolved into a 330 mile-per-hour race car. This carbon fiber body sits on top of a Paul Marley tube chassis, same engine's top fuel counterpart, acceleration number 0 to 100 miles in less than 1 second, and it's due to those aerodynamics that allow this car to exceed that 330 mile-per-hour. They may slow back tremendously, but boy, they like to eat money too. Let's look at Ryan Capps, who has spent money this weekend. It didn't start out as quickly as he would have wanted, but it sure ended well for the Napa Toyota team in qualifying. The defending world champion comes into Gainesville Raceway with a couple of days of testing, much less than many of the other teams, Tony, but he has been running hard and fast over the course of the last couple of days. This was his celebration at Pomona. He's going to need to go the distance this year to do it again, and it starts here in Gainesville. Well, and less testing than most of the teams, but it doesn't seem that they needed it. And like Ron Capps does in their style, they really come on when it's needed. When the chips are down, just like a poker player, they don't show their hand until it's necessary. And just like they won the championship, they come out here when it counts the most in the last qualifying session. Antonelli's dialed it up on 387. Not sure if that's really good enough for round 1. And to find out, we sent Bruno Massel to talk to Ron Capps.
Ron Capps has his first opportunity to defend his title from last year, and he's really stepped up. Number 1 qualifier, hasn't skipped a beat. Ron, conditions this morning, grass scooter the we've seen all weekend, and then it's going to get hot. What do you think about what essentially is a 9 a.m. start?
Yeah, this is better than what would have been a Friday night session. This will be the best probably we're going to see in a long time. So it's going to be throwdown and funny car. It already was, so we're going to see mid to low 80s for sure, and then we're going to see the hottest it's going to be all weekend. That's when I get really proud to have Dean Antonelli, Guido, as a crew chief and our Napa team, because brand new 2023 Toyota body. We need the extra downforce later today, but we got to get through first round, and it's going to be a dogfight.
For Ron Capps, that championship built on a legacy of dozens of victories. He has 72 career wins, second most in the class, a three-time world champion. One of his biggest singular victories, the 2022 U.S. Nationals. He also won the Pep Boys All-Star Funny Car Call-Out at Indy. I'm not saying Ron Capps is a late bloomer because certainly he won a lot of races, but these championships and big wins have been coming in the later part of his career.
Well, Ron Capps has always been competitive. He's always been surrounded by the best personnel, the best talent, the best team owners. Now as a team owner, what's most impressive about that are the consecutive championships.
Now let's transition to Bob Tasca, the man who comes into this season having made significant changes at the top of his crew chart. He's roaring down the racetrack here in qualifying. He kicks things off at 3:88.8. But this week's Pep Boys, that's going to be a repair for Pep Boys moment. Comes right here in final qualifying. The beautiful painted PPG body is wreckage.
Yeah, and the damage really didn't rear its head till the finish line, but the engine was seeing damage early in the run. It was burning a piston. It was hammering the bearings. It was welding the journal, and it finally broke and gave way. And of course, the concussion gave him an awful headache, but more painfully destroyed that body.
The top of the depth chart changed for Bob Tasca III with new co-crew chiefs Todd Okuhara and Aaron Brooks. They have tuned into strong testing performances, and they have tuned into a strong qualifying position. How did a Ford Mustang turn into what looks like a Northrop Grumman B-2 bomber? We sent Amanda down to find out.
Sometimes it's not how it looks, but if it can get the job done. What you're looking at is the funny car body that Bob Tasca is going to run today. It took 2 men last night putting these decals on, and 2 hours. Well, the original funny car body, the beautiful painted PPG one, you said it was 300 hours of work with 7 men. Bob, you were qualified 4th today. You're starting a new year with veteran tuners Todd Okuhara and Aaron Brooks. How are you finding the transition?
Hey, listen, it's been a lot faster than I thought it would be. Shame last night. We broke a rod right in the lights. We were on a great run. But the bottom line is this car is back together again. We know what caused the failure. We got brand new motor in this car, and this PPG Mustang will look just fine in the winner's circle, black with a couple of PPG logos on it.
The Stealth Mustang will be in competition today among a field of very strong competition. We look at our first round matchups. It will be Alex Laughlin making his first ever competition start in Nitro Funny Car, taking on Bob Tasca III. Matt Hagan and Tim Wilkerson. And Tony, on your side of the ladder, more big matchups.
Big matchups, and of course John Forst looking very strong, starting in that number 2 position. And take a look at Robert Height, not far behind him.
So as we get ready to run our first pair of Nitro Funny Cars, we look down from the Fatheads Eyewear drone to see the DHL GR Supra of J.R. Todd and Blake Alexander, the head contractors, Pronto Auto Service Center's Mustang. Tony, J.R. Todd's best qualifying run was negated yesterday afternoon because he ran over the blocks at the end of the racetrack. How much does that hang with a guy when he lines up here in first round?
Well, it all depends if they made any adjustments. J.R. Todd, along with Cruz Pedregon, there was a couple of drivers that opted to try a new steering wheel. Now, usually a part like that where the driver has their hands on it, there's usually a learning process, a testing process. These drivers they may have tested with it, but J.R. Todd was one of those drivers. I don't know if he went back to his original steering wheel.
Blake Alexander's car's hanging with him. They get down to the big end of the racetrack, and it's Todd. 389.3, 331.04 miles an hour, upending the 395.3 of Blake Alexander. Alexander's best run of the weekend, but no match for Todd's numbers.
Well, when you think about this sport, it is the ultimate contest of acceleration, but horsepower is well needed. You could see slightly better off the starting line was Blake Alexander, but within the first 300 to 400 feet.
And then you have a Matthew.
And there's a 300-foot marker right there, and you can see that J.R. Todd right alongside of him starts to accelerate those 2 blocks in the middle of the course. Those are 660 feet. That is the 8th mile. One is a speed clock. These cars are already accelerating to 280 miles per hour just in an 1/8 of a mile.
Leah Pruitt had a strong first-round triumph in Top Fuel just a few minutes ago after that run. Amanda Busick spoke with her.
Well, that is the lowest ET that fans have seen here on the scoreboards all weekend. And Leah, from last year not qualifying